Alrighty, so roughly the file structure or folder structure we want for Moose. One of the key things for the, let me get this going, for migrate is that we have the same idea of the content maps, ORI maps, and then the name of the level. This is going to make it easier for moving things around, like especially when you do things. You're going to find that a lot of projects that you might use to start with, let me just get rid of some of this stuff, is going to kind of start with the idea of the content folder. It might have a map, and then all the other folders plus files will be on the same level. And if you migrate, they're going to migrate to this point of the content. So before you bring it over to the template you're going to use, you want to make sure you do that thing where we have the breakdown maps. Again, the normal your map, and then the level name. Just going to make life easier. Now, the key thing is that there are two ways that I've seen projects done, and we need to support both because it's just going to be too much of a hassle to do either way. The first way is that you'll take some map. Well, let me just get my thing. Some map, and then there'll be some assets along the top. That might include some folders for textures, for materials, etc. Folders. But the idea is that they're saying that inside of this one folder, you kind of got this whole thing contained. And again, the idea is that all the assets should be either in the current level or they should be below. And that's probably an ideal way to do it. Now, that doesn't have to be that way. It could be that you got a map and then you've got stuff pointing out to external folders in external places. And while a UE4 will not have any problem with that, that's just going to be a big headache for us. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that if you're looking at a map or level, that the assets are either in the same folder that it's in or in subfolders underneath it, under subfolders. Now, that doesn't mean that every asset has to have every texture and every material. That's probably not going to be the case because, again, we could pack this map, and that's going to basically include every asset and all of its components. The key thing to make Moose simple is that everything is here for this map. It's below it. Make sure that everything is below it. Now, we may not just we don't not necessarily have to just pack the um, a map as a whole. I mean, this packing structure could handle, say, an asset. Let's say that we have an asset. Let's take the what's a good one? I don't know. Let's say you got a building, and the best way to do that is, and then again, the building may have, its mesh structure here, and it may have, of course, textures. It may have materials. It may have all kinds of stuff, maybe blueprints, etc., etc., etc. Just goes on and on. The key thing is that, again, these could be anywhere in Unreal. Many times when you get an asset, you will find at least, if it's well done, that this might be my building that then has the asset in it and all of its textures and materials. They may just be all laterally across the file, or they might be folders within it. Again, the idea is that it's contained either with the asset going straight across here, or it's within. Again, the idea is everything needed by this asset is in the same level, the same folder, or subfolder. Again, I can pack that asset. In fact, you'll see many examples in Unreal where it talks about where we pack up an avatar or pack up a character. When we eventually get to the point where we allow importing other things, you can do that. And again, um, we could bring in packs individually. For now, our goal in Moose, of course, is to keep things simple. Now, when we get to dealing with the Western place, that thing is just too big to be in one pack file. But most of the stuff that we should start with should all fit. The goal is that it should all fit in one pack file. All right, so we're gonna go with again with our maps, our who, who, and then the map level in its own folder. And then make sure that everything needed, including the map itself, the map file itself, make sure that all of its stuff is in subfolders or located in the same folder. I should do that here. Same folder. And make sure it's all there. And that's going to allow my software to put the primary primary asset label into um, the files, which will allow it to be packed, which will allow Moose to do its thing. So if you do that, we're all good. Um, Make sure you maintain this hierarchy of files. It's much like we discussed before. Make sure that everything is in the folder of the object that you're doing. And we'll be pretty good from there. Again, you will find some cases where that's not been done. Things are all over the place. Um, Most cases, it's together. The only thing you may have to deal with, generally speaking, is going to be where things are built directly off the content directory instead of a subdirectory. You may want to do a little bit of moving around, create a folder for the whole thing, move all the stuff under that folder. That way you know for sure that everything is fully contained. At that point, I can put the the the, the primary asset label um, on that folder, and that will include everything in the subfolders as well as all of its contents in that folder. And that will then allow us to upload and download maps, upload and download assets in the future, buildings in the future, I don't know, backpack items in the future, um, whatever we decide to allow people to have inside of their workshop files. So as long as you kind of follow that idea, when you're working with others to build the initial levels, again, our levels should be simple to start with. It should all fit in one folder. 5 gigabytes is kind of the magic number here, pretty much. Obviously, don't go to 5 gigabytes unless you have to, but that's a magic number. We have some maps that we used in our project that are bigger than 5 gigabytes, in which I have to subdivide a single map level into multiple primary asset labels. I'm still working out the best way to do that. Don't you make any levels like that. You shouldn't need to. Um, but we'll come up with a strategy for mapping those things as well. But for now, this will get you started with creating levels with the appropriate folder structure where everything's referenced in such a way that everything will work with what I'm doing with packaging and patching. And we should be all good to go. So there you go. Any questions? Let me know. We're glad to answer them.